So in this episode, a car.
I mean, that's the simplest way to put it.
Yes, it was about a car.
A car just kinda happens.
Car happens. Yep.
I mean, there is more to it than that, but a lot of it is just, it's the car episode. It's the one about a dude in his car.
Car episode. Car.
Car Titans. What about teen cars? Both sound like terrible spin-offs of the Cars movies.
Yes, I was thinking more like Transformers. That is just transform into cars.
I mean, I would kind of like to see Cyborg do that at some point, not gonna lie.
That'd be awesome.
Would. He'd probably love it too.
Booyah! Vroom vroom!
I'm just imagining at some point Beast Boy and Cyborg marathon in the Transformers movies. And just Beast Boy being like, you have to do this!
Yeah. Though I think it might be awkward for Cyborg with the second movie.
Those movies are so interchangeable, I can't remember what happens in any of them. But anyway, about what happened in this episode.
Yes, so in this episode, Car Trouble. Yep, that's why they named it, not very creative. Cyborg makes a car and tries to show it off. But the Titans are called to a music store being attacked by an electric villain who can take over electronic objects named Overload. Cyborg is a bit late getting to the battle against him, being too obsessed with making sure his car is nice and clean, which is kind of funny. After he jumps in to help the other Titans, he finds that after the battle that his car has been stolen. He goes off to investigate and see if anyone can tell him where his car went while the Titans send Overload to prison. He intimidates this one guy into revealing that he saw it being taken to some sort of dangerous racing event, and the two guys who stole it end up racing and beating an amusingly small car using far more wacky tactics and traps than you'd think would be necessary to defeat a tiny car. But the tiny car is actually Gizmo, and I wrote that, I realized how bizarre that sounds.
Welcome to Teen Titans.
He traps the two and steals the car for himself, so Cyborg now has to go after him. He jumps in the hood of it when he finds it, but eventually he gets thrown off onto a ship that was passing nearby under the bridge.
As you do.
Afterwards, when he's at some sort of 50s-ish restaurant, Raven stops by, and despite being previously annoyed by his car obsession, decides to cheer him up and relate how she has to put herself into anything she uses magic on in the same way he put himself into that car. The car just happens, Gizmo with the car just happens to be stealing from the burger joint they're at though, so they chase after them with the car of the previous car thieves, who inexplicably escaped. They have a car chase using magic and technology and all sorts of things, and they're stopped when they run into the truck carrying Overload to prison. He escapes and decides to take over the car himself, but Cyborg destroys the car in one shot in order to stop him. At the end, all four criminals are sent to prison, and Cyborg ends up rebuilding the car with Raven's help.
Which is
friendship
cute.
Or something.
That was a very cute, unexpected team-up.
Yes.
Like, I would not have called a Cyborg-Raven friendship episode to be sweet, but it was. And that was the more interesting half of the episode for me, because, you know, a boy and his car stories are interesting, usually like -5% of the time. Yeah. So like I said, Raven and Cyborg was unexpected and a nice little development of their friendship, and also I feel like being really into cars and mechanical stuff in general is a very natural extension of Cyborg's character, because, I mean,
True.
he is in large parts mechanized. He probably has to spend a lot of time maintaining and upgrading himself, and you know, when you have to spend a lot of time doing something, you generally either wind up hating it or getting really, really into it. So, you know, I'm not surprised he's gotten really into, you know, I think in previous episodes he was really big on his submarine as well. It was implied that he'd built the submarine.
Yeah.
So I think it's cute that he's having this much fun building the car, and all the other Titans are so legitimately into it, except Raven, who is me, and is just like, it's just a car.
That is probably the most interesting thing about the episode, because, yeah, you know, like, I would have assumed after I got a car that I would be interested in cars, but I'm not, so I'm just like, eh. But the episode's clever like that, because they have a character who's also not interested in cars to relate to him. That's actually really clever writing.
Yeah, you've got... They allow you to bounce all the audience's criticisms off Raven, and then just, you know, gleefully enjoy the car through Cyborg.
Yes.
So, you know, the entire audience can identify with one or the other of them.
Yes, exactly.
I also love all of Starfire's responses to the car. Like, unsurprisingly, I love Starfire, but like, when he starts playing music, it sings! And,
yes.
And then later she turns on the windscreen wipers and trying to make it sing again. She's like, it's dancing! Oh, it's so cute.
Yes.
Oh, and poor Cyborg just wants to drive his car, but everyone else is messing with it, or like, hey, we should probably go catch supervillains.
Yeah, like, oh man, I have to do my job. How awful.
How much does that suck? And, yeah, to be fair, I don't think any of them were old enough to drive except Cyborg.
Probably. That might be true. I mean, for all we know, Starfire could be like 200 years old by our standards. We don't know.
That could actually be true. I have no idea how her species ages. I just probably still wouldn't let her behind the wheel of a car.
True.
I mean, I love her. She's my precious child, but I wouldn't get in a car she was driving.
Yes.
So yeah, I did kind of gloss over a lot of the fights with Overload because they weren't really the point of the episode, and he's not uninteresting as a villain. It's just even the show doesn't spend a lot of time paying attention to him because of the stuff going on with Cyborg and his car instead.
Yes. He's basically like Chekhov's villain.
Yeah, he just comes back towards the end and go, hey, we need a villain here. Ta-da!
Yeah, I am amused when he's defeated and he just turns into like his little face computer chip thing.
Yeah.
And they just throw him in the prison truck with all the villains. That's funny.
That was cute.
Yes. By the way, he had some very non-restricted powers because at one point, because he's made of electricity, that somehow gave him the ability to make a stereo giant.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't your stereo go giant when you turn it on?
All the time!
Yep, it's really annoying, actually. It keeps ruining my roof.
Yeah, I know.
Not what they mean when they say raise the roof. I can tell you that.
No.
But, yeah, again, I don't think the logistics of his powers were really the focus of the episode here, so they just kind of let him do what he wants.
Yeah, not exactly FMA levels of thought-out powers.
No. Well, again, that's a standard nothing should be held to because it's unfair.
Yeah.
Although now I'm thinking of seeing superheroes fight alchemists, I'd kind of like to see that.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. Though I think all their heads would explode when Beast Boy turned into like an elephant or something.
Where did the mask come from? Where did the extra mask come from? He's leaving footprints. He should be weightless at that size. But that's how the superpowers defeat alchemists. They just, show off their powers once and the alchemists are too busy with notebooks going, but where did the energy get generated from? To actually care.
That'd be great. This idea is great.
But how do you lift that? What is your bone structure? I'm sure this crossover fanfic exists somewhere. I'm not going to look for it now because I'll get wildly distracted and we do have an episode to talk about. But I hope the crossover exists somewhere.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that actually would be likely, considering how the original Fullmetal Alchemist anime came out in 2003, the exact same year this did.
So it must have been crossed over by somebody.
Yeah. I guess it depends if... because it didn't come over here until 2006, so Teen Titans was still on, so that might have happened.
Probably. I'm sure it has at some point.
Weirder ideas have happened, certainly.
I mean, even not specifically Teen Titans, but just like any superhero show crossover with Fullmetal Alchemist. That would be fun.
Yes.
God, imagine them trying to figure out the Flash.
Yeah.
Even the Flash doesn't know how the Flash works. It just goes, Speed Force. What does that mean? It means I don't have to explain anything. Speed Force.
Yeah.
We've already gotten wildly off track here. At the bit where the Teen Titans all pile out the car and go fight a bad guy, and then these random greasers that apparently still exist in the 21st century look at the car, and I'm just like, for a second I'm like, are these guys really gonna jack a superhero's car? But then I remembered the last kid who stole the wheels off a superhero's car got to be Robin. So, there's not a great precedent for, punishment for people who steal superheroes' cars.
Yeah. Still have no idea how they escaped.
No, they just... Apparently, the car wasn't locked properly, which... I mean, this is even funnier following up the next line, but my thought was, surely you'd lock your stuff very carefully when you live with Beast Boy, and it's like when they come out and find the car gone, Beast Boy goes, at least it wasn't my fault.
No, what I mean is afterwards when, they're trapped in that bubble at that racetrack.
Yeah, after the Wacky Races thing they get into.
Yeah.
Do you remember Wacky Races?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it's mainly the part where Gizmo's wheels extended, and there was definitely that one professor dude in Wacky Races whose car did that all the time. And I'm just like, okay, what cartoon am I watching?
The world may never know.
Well, at least they were just greasers instead of horribly racist stereotypes, so not Wacky Races completely.
True.
I mean, I adored Wacky Races as a child, but watching it as an adult can be profoundly uncomfortable. Given when they decide we're racing in Mexico today. Oh God, they're racing in Eskimo land. I think was one. And you're just like, oh God.
Eskimo land is my favorite Mario Party level.
It's just called the snow level.
Okay.
But yeah, they get left in the bubble, and I guess the bubble wears out at some point or something.
Yeah.
And they get away, or they pop it with their combs or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do actually now. I'm wondering if there was meant to be a low-key shout-out to Grease in this episode. Just, the big deal is that he's building a super-fast car. I mean, it's an incredibly vague link, but it's just all the greasers and the fact that he goes up to this really retro burger joint, which, I didn't think was the kind of place that still existed. It just seems like a very, very low-key shout-out to Grease.
Yeah, it might have been. I mean, that would actually fit because, during when they're driving near the beginning of the episode, they do a completely obligatory Johnny Be Good knockoff song because you have to.
You have to. It's the law. You get taken off TV if you don't.
Yes.
And there's fuzzy dice in the car, of course. And also just Cyborg spends so much time freaking out about his car getting damaged. I'm like, okay, dude, I understand you built this car yourself. That's a very precious thing, but you're on a superhero team. Your stuff gets blown up twice a week. You're gonna have to learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like your weird-shaped house has already been invaded twice this season so far. Really gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least the full building hasn't been blown up yet, but I fully expect that to happen at some point.
I liked when Cyborg showed up at the racetrack, and he's just mad at the two guys. He's like, "You lost my car? My car lost a race?" Priorities. Yeah,
that was kind of cute. I get sidelined by going, "How's she handle?" Just like, oh, yeah. Cyborg priorities.
Yes.
I did like his wee chat with Raven, who, the rest of the time she's like, it's just a car, I don't care. But here she's like, but I get why you care. I don't care, but you're my friend and this matters to you, so I guess it matters to me a little. I also like the little extension of the explanation of how her powers work, is that she's previously mentioned that they're, emotionally motivated, but she also mentions that she's kind of possessing anything she controls, which is also interesting. So... Yeah, and I like how she uses that deeply unholy power as a metaphor for why Cyborg's car matters to him, because it's it's what you put your soul into it.
Yes.
It's I built this computer, does that mean my soul's in my computer? Because that wouldn't surprise me, honestly. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But so then we got Cyborg-Raven team, which, like I said, was unexpected, but it was cute, and it felt very genuine. And literally any time Raven smiles even slightly is beautiful. I'm just so happy for her.
Yeah.
And I like how Cyborg's also able to take that into, if the car is being possessed by overload, it's not my car, it's not the car I love anymore, so he's completely able to blow it up. And then he rebuilds it.
I did love how, at first, overload was literally on the wheel of the car. So you just have this big, bulky electric guy, and he's just holding the wheel. That was great. That's a great image.
Oh, the day we switch to electric cars, we're all doomed.
Yes.
Overload will have dominion over the earth.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Maybe the best line of the whole episode, when he's like, check out my baby's proton cannon! And then he notices Raven look at him and he's just like, I mean, oh no. that line delivery was great.
Oh, it really He's so proud of that car, bless him.
he just switches to just monotone. It's great. It sounded almost like Mark Wahlberg in The Happening. Oh no.
Oh, it was great. Again, I identify very strongly with Raven. It's I don't care about the car, but it's cute to see Cyborg so happy about the car.
Yes.
That's nice. And Raven helping him rebuild it was also really cute.
Yes.
I'm all for it. I like how they're taking the time to develop the relationship with these guys a little bit more organically. Because they seem to have acknowledged that the characters barely seem to know each other at the beginning of the show. They're just in a team for reasons. So they are kind of now more naturally developing relationships between them. And you've got the obvious dynamics, like Starfire is visibly crushing very hard on Robin, and Beast Boy and Cyborg are best friends and always hanging out. But they're also taking, episodes aside to go, but here's Raven and Starfire's friendship, and here's Raven and Cyborg's friendship. And here's Robin being an asshole to all his friends. Stop turning into Batman, Robin.
As you do. Honestly, I think you had more to say about it than I did, even.
And I didn't think I had that much to say about it, but...